Hello, I am Reverend Irene Smith, and I'd like to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. Here at the table, we come and we discuss life issues, no matter what they might be. As we sit at the table with each generation, we all learn, we all grow, we all are inspired.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Generationally Speaking. Hello, welcome to Generationally Speaking. I am Reverend Irene Smith. Reverend Irene, for all my young peeps, I want to welcome you again to the table of discernment as we sit with the older generation who have paved the way for so many things that we enjoy today. And then I sit also at the table with this new millennial generation who showing us how to use the technology in some awesome ways. And then to speak to our the younger people who have their aspirations and dreams. And as we sit at the table together, can I tell you, we learn from each other. We grow from each other. We are inspired by each other. And through all of that, we're able to move forward and to celebrate. This is the International Month for Women. And I am just excited to be able to highlight so many women who are moving in spaces that perhaps you not ever thought about, who are doing, as I like to say, they're doing the thing. They doing the thing and they doing it right. So I'm excited about that. And today I have a young woman that I am so excited about and happy to meet. Her name is Suzette Martinez Malavat. And she is described as a dedicated, tenacious, multifaceted media relations and communications marketing professional with a decade of experience. Hey, this young lady, she's got it going on. And I am so excited about that and to hear that and to be able to share that with you today. So Suzette, let me just say welcome and thank you for coming to Generationally Speaking.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. I'm very excited to talk with you today.
Well, I've shared here with my audience just a little bit about the descriptiveness of how folk view you. But what I want to talk about first, before I ask you to share with my audience exactly your exact position and some of the duties that you perform on a daily basis, I want to first share with my audience what it took to make the person that Suzette is today. How did Suzette get to this point? Because oftentimes we don't realize the struggles, we don't realize the journey that persons have gone through, the preparation. All we see is this end result. And so today we want to go back, and I want you to go back to that young Suzette in elementary, that young Suzette in middle school, that young Suzette in high school, in that neighborhood with that tribe around you, and tell me, who was this young Suzette and your formative years? What was poured into you?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I went to school there, and if you're familiarized with Puerto Rico, it's a U.S. territory. So I grew up speaking Spanish, but English was my second language. So, out of the gate, I think that language was a barrier for me, because when I was looking to leave Puerto Rico, I knew that I had to do the extra work to be able to first dominate English language, because I had heard from other people that had done it before that that would be more beneficial to get opportunities. So when I was in high school, I was always very obsessed with all things USA and the American dream. And I just wanted to get an opportunity to step outside of Puerto Rico and leave the island so that I can learn and grow. And I was fortunate. I worked for it, so I was fortunate, but also worked towards it to get an internship in Washington, D.C. So that was my first exposure to the workplace in the U.S. And I was able to be a production assistant, but also a writer. And by the end of the internship, I was able to make a video reel of my experiences working in the newsroom. And I think that experience was so critical for my growth, because after that, I went back to Puerto Rico and I continued my studies there. And I was so excited about doing it again. I just wanted to do it again. I wanted to put myself out there, get more opportunities to leave Puerto Rico. So after that, I ended up doing about 7 internships, and I went back to Washington, D.C., worked in different government agencies, got different experiences. And after that, in Puerto Rico, the natural path was to either be a lawyer, engineer, doctor. And I applied to go to law school because I thought that was going to be the next step, because everyone was doing it, but I also felt in my gut that I had so much experience in the communication space that maybe I should give myself the opportunity to try again and maybe apply to jobs in the US. So fast forward to 10 years later, and it's been that long that I've been away from Puerto Rico, working as a PR professional, and my day-to-day is working with reporters and editors.
Suzette, let me stop you for a moment.
Yeah.
And go back a little bit to those high school years when you are with your friends and you're just enjoying high school. What was it that kept you focused on your aspirations?
I think in high school, there's a lot of distractions. There's also peer pressure. It's all very normal of the high school experience. However, I am also very grateful for the parents that, I have, because my parents were always very intentional about the fact that education was important. And as long as, the studies were there and the experience in the workplace was there, I should be able to move forward and have opportunities in life and in my career. So having structured and parents that would prioritize discipline was important to me, because some of my friends did not have that, and I could sense that their priorities were very different than mine. I always knew that if I wanted to get out of Puerto Rico, I had to work hard for it. I didn't have a network or an influence, that would get me there. So it would have to be through discipline and focus, and through these, internship opportunities that I'd be able to do that. And those are very competitive. So you need to stay on track.
Yeah. You mentioned something about where you're being in Puerto Rico, and that could be any place, your community, where you don't see an opportunity for the type of growth that you're looking for. And so that's, I think, what I hear you saying, the growth that I wanted, the places where I wanted to go, I wasn't going to have that opportunity where I was in Puerto Rico.
Yes. I mean, I even put myself out there, and I did some internships when I was in college in Puerto Rico, and I could sense that it was going to be a tough road to be able to get those opportunities of growth, because it's an island. So there's limited resources and opportunities sometimes, and you just have to venture out. And that happens if you're from a small town in, Ohio, or if you're from, the middle of nowhere in California. It's like you're close-ish to where the action is happening, but you need to work hard to get there, because it's not going to happen by magic. You have to put in the work and the hours and the connections to be able to get those opportunities.
And when you speak about opportunities, something else caught my ear, and that was when you talked about you had an opportunity for 7 to come and serve in several different instances. How were you able to get those opportunities? Most people can get 1 internship, but you had 7 internships. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mentioned to you that after I did the Telemundo interview, the Telemundo experience, I was able to apply again for other opportunities. There is an organization called HACU, and HACU stands for Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, and it's dedicated to Hispanic students and helping them be placed in different internships, mostly in the Washington, D.C. area. I found out about that organization because of Lori again. So I think Lori, she kept an eagle eye on opportunities, and she was really committed to helping me get a chance to leave Puerto Rico and pursue a career in the US. So she let me know about that, and I researched more, and I had to go through application processes. And I also applied to other hundreds of internships. I wanted to work at Disney. I wanted to work at, Google, like you name it. I had big aspirations, and I got declines from all of those. But the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities saw my profile and became interested in giving me the chance. So I got placed for the first time with the Census Bureau. And because of that experience, I developed a relationship with that team, and then they kept calling me to come back. And then I also did an internship with the US Mint, which is under the Department of Commerce and I'm sorry, for the Department of Treasury. And with that, I also developed a relationship, and then some of them recommended me for other jobs. So again, I think these internships were very critical for my growth and for further opportunities that came down the road.
I like the fact that you talked about developing relationships on these internships, and in that development of relationships, it helped to shape you and help to also prepare you and perhaps give you some leadway into another door. And so so developing relationships sounds like it's key.
Yes, and also it's key to the job that I do now. So I think developing relationships is what life is all about. You develop relationships in your community, you develop relationships with your family, friends, colleagues, and those are going to be very integral to what you do in life. So I think for me, I noticed immediately from that first internship opportunity that if I kept a relationship with my manager slash mentor, that she would keep me, updated on opportunities that came about, because she felt compelled and she felt like we had a connection that mattered, and therefore she wanted to help me. So it's very different when you're reaching out to someone that you don't know, expecting something in return from that person, versus if you reach out to someone that you've invested time and energy on, that person is going to be much more willing to help out, or at least give you direction and feedback on where to go.
And so when you had these internships, would you talk a little bit about how you showed up professionally, how you showed up for the job? How did you present it yourself?
So I think I've always been intentional about my brand, about who I am as a person. And I always wanted to leave people with a good impression of me. And again, if you add the elements of historic barriers for our communities, and I'm not a white woman. I am, darker skinned and Latina. So I felt like I had to make up for things that I didn't have, which is not the case, because we don't need to make up for anything, because we should embrace who we are as individuals. And I have learned over the years that what I thought was not my superpower actually is. So the fact that I'm Latina and that I'm different and that I speak two languages and I have something new to offer and a fresh perspective, those are all attributes that we should embrace. But back then, I felt like that was something that could work against me. So I was trying to make up for it in my presentation as a person and my professionalism. So I always wanted to make sure that whenever I was having any type of conversation with anyone, even if it was someone that was, the same level as I was at as myself, or someone that was above, that I was presenting myself in a very professional manner. So I think that continues to be important to me, regardless of embracing your individuality and owning your voice, to always know that you need to present yourself how you want to be perceived and how you want people to talk about you when you're not in the room.
And so along life's journey, and I'm sure your journey, you have experienced life lessons. And so life lessons when it comes to disappointments, life lessons when it comes to those euphoric moments. Share with us to a young girl, a young student, how you were able to handle those moments of disappointment, how you handle those euphoric moments, and then how you, those life lessons of how you were able to always navigate and continue to move forward in the pathway that you were on.
So I think it takes a lot of emotional resilience and also, maturity. I always heard from people that they felt like I was wise beyond my years, and I never really understood it until, again, now 10 years later, into being into my career, that I understand that building that emotional resilience is going to help you get further in life, because you're going to be constantly facing different types of challenges and disappointments. And if you let them bring you down and let that be the thing that limits you, then you're going to be stuck, because it's always going to happen. It's going to happen personally, professionally. It's just the way life is. My mom always used to say life is unfair. And I honestly think that's true. It is unfair in some instances, because we're not at the place of opportunity. It's not an equal playing field for all of us, right? I was talking about relationships and networks, and I think that that continues to be true for marginalized communities, for Latinos, for the Black community, for AAPI and neurodivergent communities, and even the LGBTQIA community. We continue to see the challenges that our communities face. And then when you put it on the next, when you compare it side by side with other communities that maybe haven't had to struggle the same way, it's unfair. However, you can focus on the unfairness and then be stuck there, or you can try to create your own story and your own opportunity. And I think I was always really focused on that. I wanted to make sure that I could change the script, and that my story would be different, because I took different steps to get to where I am today. And I think everyone has the power to do that, even if you come from a broken house, or even if you come from a place of not having the resources, to know that there's people out there who can help you and who can be willing to give you the time to guide you. And those are important things to remember. But building emotional resilience is key. And I continue to do that for myself, because I continue to face disappointments, in the workplace still. And it is just kind of part of life.
Right. So tell us a little bit about, you said built and building resiliency. How do you do that? What are some of the steps, some of the things that perhaps you tell yourself, some affirmations perhaps you share with yourself?
Yeah, so it takes practice, and it's definitely a muscle that we all need to develop. I like to work out in moments where I'm feeling lost, or where I feel like I need a source of inspiration. And when I work out, I try to work out mentally too, and think about all the positive things that I have going on versus focusing on the negative, because there's always positives if you look for them. Sometimes it's harder to see it if you're getting hit with a bad week, or a bad month, or bad months, or bad years, and many bad things have happened to you, and you feel like that's just the way your life is. But the reality is that there's always like a tiny speck of positivity in what happens to you on a daily basis. And even the fact that you're here, the fact that you're alive, and the fact that you're getting the opportunity to experience all of these emotions. And sometimes you just have to embrace the emotions. So embrace that you're sad, but know that tomorrow is going to be better.
Right. That is so true. And so I'd like for you to share now with my audience your title and what you do, and the scope of your responsibilities.
Yeah, so I'm a vice president of media and publicity at Edelman, and Edelman is a global public relations firm. We have about 6,000 employees all over the world, and in my day-to-day job, I work with media, and I work with stakeholders internally crafting the message for different brands. And I get to work with these brands on a day-to-day basis in developing their voice and how we're going to introduce themselves to the media. So that's kind of who I am, the person who works with the journalists to provide the information and resources and build that bridge so they understand why stories matter.
I think it's so fascinating that the opportunity that you've been given to how to create a voice and from a little girl back in Puerto Rico, and now you had to find your own voice, and now you are creating a voice for others to go out. Do you ever pinch yourself and say, I can't believe that I've gotten this opportunity?
Yes, there's definitely a lot of times where I'm thinking that, and then there's other times where I'm thinking there's so much more to be done, because these brands are all trying to communicate with multicultural audiences and marginalized communities. So as a Latina, again, I'm starting to define my voice a little bit more in being in this space for a decade, but there's so much more that needs to be done that I'm trying to figure out who are the right allies to have in place to be able to get those opportunities for people that haven't gotten them before. So there's so much more that needs to be done. That's why I feel like I pinch myself and I'm like, we're not there yet. This is just like part of the journey. But there's so much more that we could be doing to make it better.
Yeah, you talk about the euphoric portion of your responsibility, but you also talk about the weight that is on your shoulder and the weight of making sure that the voice that goes out is really descriptive of communities and not that lift communities in a positive kind of way. Are there times when that you have to struggle with making sure that voice is heard, or are there times when you have to tell yourself, let me tap myself down a minute, and find another place to push in?
Yes, and I think that happens always in the workplace where you need to choose your battles, because there's certain projects where you'll get the opportunities to fight for what's right, and then there's going to be moments where you need to take a pause and reprioritize and refocus on what else could be done. Maybe that wasn't the project where you were able to submit someone that was from a diverse background, but maybe there's going to be another opportunity for you to do that. So you show up in the places where you can push. It's an ongoing journey, and having the opportunity to educate my colleagues about reaching different outlets.
Wow. Well, I want to again thank you for this opportunity for you to come on and share. In closing, I would like for you to share with my audience those habits that have proven to be helpful for you throughout your life and throughout your career, and what you would want to leave with other young women.
I would say for me, there's definitely plenty of things that we could be doing, but find the things that make you happy. So if you're happy investigating or learning more about a certain topic, definitely feel that with reading books or reading every day, diversifying your news feed, making sure that you're seeing other people that look like you represented in the different spaces, because it's easy to get frustrated if you're only seeing people who look a certain way, but maybe it's because you need to diversify the people that you follow. So think about that. Think about when you wake up in the morning, the things that bring you the highs versus the lows, and do more of what gives you the highs so that you can stay focused and consistent with your goal of what you want to achieve in the future. And definitely write down your goals. I've always been a proponent of writing down your goals and also writing down the pros and cons of doing something. So if there's an internship that you're trying to pursue, writing down why you think it would be a fit for you, and then what are the downsides if there's any, and reach out to people. Don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to expand your purview. It's easy if you are in a small community to stay within that four walls of the community, but there's such a bigger world out there that you can explore, and it's just at the touch of your fingertips if you go on LinkedIn or if you do the research and figure out the people that you need to be connected to. Most likely you'll get a response from someone who wants to help you. So don't give up and keep doing what you're doing. And then the last thing would be just know that nothing is permanent. And everything that happens, it'll pass if it's bad, and if it's good, embrace it and celebrate the success, but know that things come and go, and you just have to build that emotional resilience to be able to take on whatever comes your way.
Well, Suzette, I want to thank you so much for sharing. And I want you to know that we are so excited, and we so very proud of you for the accomplishment that you have made. And we celebrate you in this International History Month for Women. We are just excited about the journey that you have taken, and the pathway that you're leaving for other young women who are coming behind you. And so again, we want to say congratulations to you. We're excited about where you are and where you're going. Again, to my audience, I always say, make sure that you have a passion, that you become inspired about something. We all have a passion someplace. Whatever your inspiration is, your passion, make sure you also get some information, because inspiration without information, not too good. So you need inspiration, information, and then you'll get some transformation. Hey, thank you so much. See you next week.